Hi there. Welcome to Studio Movie Recap. Today we going to recap thriller drama film, My Teacher, My Obsession. The film begins with Riley, a senior student in high school, and her father Chris, who is a new English teacher at the institution. They are both beginning their first day of school. Riley and her father are starting their lives from scratch after divorcing Riley's mother because she cheated on him. Chris advised her to find friends so she won't be lonely. During school event, a girl named Kyla is taking pictures of guests. She saw Chris and was instantly drawn to him and started taking his pictures. Chris attracts the interest of Trisha, a popular girl in school. She claims that in 2 days she will make him fall in love with her. During class session, Trisha plays with her phone to grab Chris's attention. After he saw her, he takes her phone away and tells her it's not allowed to use phone during lecture. To learn everyone's personality, he instructs everyone to take out their cell phones and play their favorite song. He was impressed with Kyla's music choice. He was more impressed with her intelligence when she starts to explain her music choice. Kyla interpreted his kindness for attraction and thought maybe she stands a chance to seduce him. After class, Chris waved at her daughter as she was leaving. Kyla saw this and thought he was waving at her, but she saw that he was looking at Riley. She starts to suspect that they are involved since no one knows that Riley is Chris's daughter. She followed her to computer room. She introduced herself to Riley and tells her that she also loves art. They started to know one another, and Riley mentions that the new English teacher is her father but doesn't want anyone to know. She promised to never tell anyone, and they became friends since both of them didn't have any friends. Riley invites her over to her house for a study session. At home, Riley tells her father about her new friend Kyla. Chris was happy that she was friends with Kyla and claims that she made a good choice. She is a smart girl. When Kyla got home, she was shocked to find her mother exercising. When she asked her what motivated her to do so, she didn't tell her. After she saw her new dress, she had to tell her the truth that she's going out to a date with this guy she saw at the grocery store. Later that night, Kyla has a dream about her and Chris having sex. At school, Trisha introduced herself to Riley and tells her that she knows her secret that Chris is her father, but promised not to tell anyone. She also warns her to stay away from Kyla as she thinks she's not a good person. When Kyla saw Riley and Trisha talking, she becomes angry as she thinks they are gossiping about her. She went to Riley and wanted to know what they were talking about. She warns her to not get close to Trisha. She tells her that the previous year Trisha was involved with a teacher. Now she wants to make her father her next victim. Riley was shocked and promised to not get involved with her again. The following day, Kyla calls Riley asking her about her birthday. When she learned that it's still upcoming, she advises her to throw a party to celebrate as she was turning 18 years. She firstly didn't agree but end up accepting Kyla's proposal. Later that evening, Kyla's mother Jessie is getting ready for a date. Chris went to her house to fetch her. He was surprised to see Kyla. As Jessie was introducing Chris, Kyla tells her that Chris is her English teacher. It was awkward that her teacher is dating her mother, but she's completely cool with it. When Kyla sees them flirting, she becomes jealous and went towards them. She intentionally spills water on Chris' shirt with intention of ruining their date so they won't leave. She advises them to continue their date there and she will prepare food for them. Chris spent his night there. In the middle of the night, Kyla screamed and claimed that she saw someone watching her through the window. When Chris went to check, he saw no one and wanted to call the police. Kyla stops him and tells him that it's not that serious. She didn't see who it was, so she has nothing to tell the police. She tells them that she wants to stay with them to feel safer. Her intention was to get closer to Chris. She touches him and thanks him for staying with them that night. The following morning at school, Kyla confronts Riley about hanging out with Trisha despite her warning to not to. She tells her that Trisha is using her to reach her father. Riley also confronts her and tells her that Trisha told her that she's the one who slept with the teacher. She was disappointed that Riley chose to believe Trisha over her. Later, Kyla confronts Trisha. She aggressively pushed her against locker and threatened her to leave Riley alone. That night, Kyla uses Trisha's phone to take inappropriate pictures. She printed out the pictures and left them inside her locker to frame Trisha and pretending like she's the one who did that. Later that evening, as Chris and Jess get ready for a date, Kyla sends Chris's phone pornographic messages using Trisha's phone that she stole. She then forced her mother to read the messages. Her mother declined at first since it felt inappropriate, but then she got curious and read the messages. She was disappointed and broke up with him because she thinks he's having sex with one of his students. Kyla was so happy that she will finally have Chris all to herself. She went to him inside his car, while Chris was still explaining that she never slept with any of his students. She seduces him and starts to kiss him while she's sitting on his lap. Chris tried to stop her, but she was too irresistible, so he couldn't and kissed her back. The next day, the police showed up at school and arrest Trisha after they discovered that the pictures that Kyla found inside her locker was taken by her phone. The following evening at Riley's birthday celebration, Kyla bought presents for Riley. She brought her favorite book and also gave her alcohol and convinced her to get drunk, claiming that no one should turn 18 sober. She then breaks inside Chris's room and seduced him again. She touched him inappropriately to make him sexually active. Chris tried to fight her off but failed again. He finally kissed her and was ready to have sex with her. Riley enters her father's room without knocking and sees her best friend and her father about to share intimacy. She was disappointed and heartbroken. As Chris is preparing to leave to look for his daughter, Kyla tells him that she's glad that Riley found out. Now they can love each other without feeling guilty. She became furious when Chris tells her that his daughter is more important than her. After learning everything from Riley, Jess confronts Chris the following morning. She orders Riley to leave with her. Kyla explains to her mother that she was now legal age and claims that Chris and her are in love. Chris explains to his daughter that since her mother cheated on him, he's been empty. Something died in him, and asked for apology and promises to stop seeing Kyla. Riley forgave him. The following morning, Kyla phones Trisha and requests a meeting before school. When Trisha shows up, Kyla admits to framing her. She starts hurting herself and breaks her fingers. As Riley and Chris approaches, she shouts out for help and accuses Trisha of attacking her. Kyla was sent to hospital while Trisha is taken into custody. Riley visits her and informs Kyla that her relationship with her father is over. After Riley leaves, Kyla tells Chris that now that Trisha is not in the picture, they can finally be together. Chris refuses, telling her that their relationship has ended and that she should leave him alone. Kyla declares she will never leave him and reminds him that he will have to see her every day in class. Chris tells her that he decides to quit his job to get away from her. Kyla takes a scalpel and left the hospital. Chris was planning to leave the school same day before Kyla recovers. He went to school to get his belongings from the classroom. At the school, Kyla confronts Riley and stabs her in the stomach after telling her that only one of them can be in Chris's life. She walks into Chris's class and places the scalpel to his throat while telling him they were meant to be together. Riley was not dead yet. She crawled, trying to look for help meantime. Chris tries to get Kyla off of him by aggressively pushing her to the floor. Kyla kicked him on the legs, which caused him to trip and knocking him out cold. The janitor hears the noise and goes to check. He found Kyla posing as being hurt and begs him to call for assistance. Riley warns the janitor to run, but before he does, Kyla cuts his throat and killed him. Riley ran to the science lab room. Kyla found her there and tried to strangle her. Riley uses her anger towards her to fight back and end up knocking her unconscious. As police arrive, both Riley and Kyla are taken away in separate ambulances. Sometime later, Riley and her father have moved to new neighborhood. Now Riley could drive on her own. As she was leaving for her first day of college, Kyla shows up hooded. She found them and was still obsessed with Chris.